Always a big thank you for being there. This is your Family Magazine talk show, today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa. So, what national issues caught your attention within the week? John, that question also goes to you.
Are you giving me an exam test?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What national issues? Let's see. I think I put down a few things, actually, Helen.
Okay.
I may have to refer to my notes here, because quite a lot has happened.
True.
You know, like, yes, the Lagos residents who are asking about, you know, the neighborhood watch people. Because just a couple of years ago, we had them all over the place.
On bikes, on motorcycles.
Everything with their batons and trendy uniforms.
Yes.
So what's happened to them?
Okay, I have no idea.
The crime rate is going up. The whole purpose of bringing them out was for them to be able to check, you know, the rate of crime, integrate themselves into the communities. So the question is, what has happened to the neighborhood watch?
Where are they?
Where are they?
That's a question to probably the general manager or the chief executive of that organization.
Of the organization. That's Prince Oyekon Falade, and I hope he's listening to us. I trust that he will provide us with an answer.
Okay, that's some worry. But on a cheery note, Africa, Nigeria, again, catches the attention of the world. Specifically this time, Queen Elizabeth II has recognized a Nigerian, and he is Kennedy Okezie from Imo State, and giving him a special recognition, you know, directly from the Queen of England as one of her youngest leaders for raising over £2 million worth of grant to start a mentorship program for young Africans all over the world.
Brilliant.
Very commendable.
Brilliant. Okezie, yeah?
Yeah.
Well done.
Kennedy.
Well done. Well done, Okezie. And of course, we will not, we can't gloss over the trouble in Jos. Yeah? It's not abating, and it's bad for business. It's bad for peaceful coexistence and development. Well, they've tried to paint a human face to it, but a lot still needs to be done about the Jos situation. That's close to home for you,
That's close to home. Well, everywhere is home in Nigeria now. Unfortunately, not anymore. Everywhere used to be home.
Yes.
You know, you were able to go anywhere and identify that this is home for me as a Nigerian. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So especially Jos, peaceful, beautiful Jos, no longer peaceful and beautiful.
No longer at peace.
Sad.
Well, okay. So we can only hope for better days ahead.
Sure.
We are in a democracy. Of course we are.
And before you do, there's something else that caught my attention, and it's about the Lagos State government through the Ministry of Youth, or for Youth and Social Welfare Development, announcing within the week that anybody found on the street begging, especially those women with little children, stand a risk of going to jail for 10 years.
About time too.
And it starts almost immediately.
About time too. I think we were able to effect that a few years ago, and somehow we dropped our guard, and I think it really should come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is back.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I was saying that we're in a democracy, and of course we want to be able to speak out freely. You know, government shouldn't only hear us, but go further and fulfill their promises made to us during elections. We're watching, yeah?
Exactly, John. I completely agree with you there. So, what's our topic today? John kept you guessing at the beginning.
Yes.
I'll let you have it. We did not have to look far. We just looked around us. And what we found prompted us to ask, is marriage, good as it is, really a necessity? What do you think? And what about the baby mama, baby papa arrangement that we have all around us? Well, we have two amazing guests on the show today to take us through this journey.
And of course, when we're through with our first guest, who is already with us here, there'll be a Keep Fit segment, after which our lifestyle host, Pharaoh Owutomo, my favorite, will positively blow your minds with facts and figures when she takes on our guest to dissect the baby mama drama.
I can't wait. So let's welcome the certified marriage counselor, who is our first guest on today's show, and a relationship coaching specialist. She's Dolly Ohanyere. She's a lawyer. She's a human resource consultant, a guest. Our guest has been married for 10 years and is a strong believer in the sanctity of the marriage union. Dolly Ohanyere has a passion for helping others grow both in their professions and personal capacity. She also has a passion for true love and good relationships. Our guest is interested in helping couples meet their relationship goals and expectations and build a healthy marriage. Dr. Ohanyere is MD CEO of Healthy Marriage Hub. It's a pleasure, madam.
Thank you so much.
The last time we had you, you were on Zoom all the way from Ghana.
All the way from Ghana.
Thank you for being in Nigeria.
Thank you.
And thank you for being in the studio. Okay, now I remember Kofi. Kofi JS is right here.
Yes, yes.
Nostalgia.
Thank you for publicizing my middle name.
Exactly.
So, Dolly, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having you with us on the program. And today we're going to really rock the table. Okay, you ready for it?
Okay, let's
Because
see.
quite frankly, with the high incidence of marriages collapsing here and there, experienced these days, one is forced to wonder, what really is the purpose of the marriage institution?
Thank you very much for having me, Helen and John, as always. All right. First of all, I like the question. You know why? Because the same way we have failing marriages, we also have thriving marriages, whether we like it or not. The thing is, social media thrives in bad news. So we get to hear about the divorces, we get to hear about the separations, we get to hear about the bad marriages. There are millions of people who have good marriages, who have successful marriages, but they don't come on social media to, say, oh, I have a good marriage, or, this thing is happening. I'll give you a practical example. My wedding anniversary was like a few days ago. And I posted something on social media on my platform. And I'm not someone, people who know me will tell you I'm not a social media person. But I mean, with what I do, I had to go on social media. And on Fridays, I actually post about couples. Like I post couples, and their experiences. They share, what has kept them and things like that. And I just said, oh, let me post mine since today is my anniversary. And when I posted that, an older woman called me to say, oh, why are you putting that on social media? People will soon start attacking your marriage. People will soon say, oh, who does she think she is? So people that have good marriages do not put their marriages out there because they are prone to attacks. And people will be saying, with all this news, you're telling me, what's with this marriage and things like that. In fact, recently, I think it was a few weeks ago, Fela Durotoye and the wife, Tara, they said the same thing on social media that, they're tired of hiding, that they have a good marriage, that let them say it and put it out there so that people are not scared of this institution called marriage because it's been painted in the light of, what's the point of even getting married? What's the big deal? Because going into it, I'll still come out. So if you have the mentality that marriage is a bad thing, if you have the mentality that if you go in, you will come out, that's the same way you're going to go into it and come out of it. So I just want to put that out there. There are millions of marriages that are thriving, all right? So coming to the purpose of marriage, first of all, who created marriage? Is God. I had a young guy recently, he's over 40, so he's not even a young guy, and he said, God has nothing to do with marriage. I was like, oh, really? Okay, so who created marriage? Was it your pastor? Was it your community? Was it your culture? Was it your tradition? So that's the thing. People are moving away from the original intention and plan for marriage. Yeah. So God created the institution of marriage. What was his intention? He wants us to, he said, in Genesis 2:24, he said, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to a wife, and they shall become one. So the purpose of marriage is to achieve oneness. Is to achieve oneness.
Yes.
The purpose of marriage is for companionship. He said it, I will make you someone. He put Adam to sleep. Adam was sleeping and he created Eve from him and said, I will create someone to make you, to be your friend, to support you, to keep you company, to, just to be there for you, to be your friend. You have someone to talk to so that you're not lonely. That's the purpose of marriage. Another one also is the procreation. Go out and multiply. That's what he said to us. You're supposed to have children from that. And there's a purpose. There's a reason for saying father and mother will come together and have children. Because there is something a father gives to a child, a mother also gives. So when it's one person, that is not the oneness God is talking about. And if you procreate, if you have children, you have to educate them. You have to educate your children. So that's also purpose. So the purpose of marriage is companionship, to achieve oneness, to procreate, and to educate your children. And that's why they said, train up a child in the way that it should go, so that when the person grows, it will not depart from them. So that's the purpose of marriage. But I think these days what we see is people just come out and, because they're following the wrong people, they're following people who are saying the bad, the negative things about marriage, and they now build their mentality is now around the negatives. Why don't you follow people that, paint light, paint marriage in a good way? Like they've been there. Like I can't even remember how many couples I interviewed 2020, including people that have been married for 50 years. So if you have someone who's been married for 50 years, what are they doing? Do they have two heads?
We'll come to that.
So maybe this is the time to begin to document all of those testimonies and real life situations, so that, the world can see and the younger ones can see and have a different shift in perspective.
Definitely.
All right?
Definitely.
Okay, so if the core reason for marriage, Dolly, is partnership, like you said, why then does one have to formalize it?
Okay, first of all, marriage is not a partnership. That's not the core reason for marriage. It's not partnership.
Companionship. You said.
Thank you. So it's companionship.
So there's a difference.
So there's a difference, yes. So marriage is not a partnership. Partnership is an agreement between two. I see it more as a professional thing. So I'm a human resource consultant. I have clients, and we get into, I have an SLA. So we get into partnership agreement, service level agreement, sorry. Okay. So we get into a contract, basically, like saying a contract has terms and conditions.
Yes.
If you do this, if you provide this service, I'm going to pay you. There is a certain amount you pay me. Is it going to be monthly, annually? You put it there. So we have terms and conditions for a contract, for contractual agreements, including partnerships. It's more professional for me. So you document it, you sign. Sometimes you have witnesses, so which is a lawyer, and you sign with an ink, just in case, and you put clauses there just in case the person defaults. At least you have something you can go to court with. Okay? Marriage is a covenant. Marriage is not a partnership. I know these days we say my partner. In fact, recently I said, I was speaking to my husband, I said, partner. I said, babe, it sounds funny. Don't call me your partner. Do you understand what I mean? So I think it's because we say partner. People now think marriage is a partnership. No, marriage is a covenant. What happens in covenantal relationships? We go to a church in front of a clergy. We make a vow. In partnerships agreements, you don't make vows. I've never seen anyone that brought my document and say, let's go to church and go in front of the pastor.
Wouldn't the agreement replace the vow?
It's also documented and all that.
No, which one? Sorry.
I mean, when you make an agreement, right? Isn't it the same thing as making a vow?
Oh, no, it's not. Because see here, a vow is more of you. You're fulfilling something. It's just like when you go to church and you pledge to
It's a promissory
Thank
note.
you. It's a promise. You see what I mean? So there's a difference. So with covenants, what happens in covenants is you're in front of a clergy. You're saying, I do take thee as my lawfully wedded husband, to love and to hold, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. For better, for worse, till death do us part. But what happens now is, we choose for better and leave the worse. We choose in health and live in sickness. And we now plan. So partnership is more of, let's agree to do this. But when you're making a vow, you said, till death do us part. That was what you said there. Yes. So it's a vow, it's a covenant. And I remember, I think in Ecclesiastes 5, it was clearly written there, it's better for you not to make a vow than you make one and do not keep it. In fact, God calls you a fool. You don't do that. And most of us go to the altar without having that understanding that is a covenant.
Yes.
So we go to the altar and just recite what they're telling us. Oh, say this, you say, So I think we have to change people's mindset around this partnership and marriage. Marriage is not a partnership. And I will go further. A covenant is sealed with blood. Partnership or, contract, you sign with your ink and you stamp with a seal.
Yes.
So that means for this one, what am I saying? Abraham, when God entered that covenant with him, what happened? He said, I will give you this, that, your people are going to be enslaved for 400 years, but don't worry, I'm going to bring them out and, they will be free and things like that. He told him all that. This is the land you're going to possess and all those kind of things. But by the time he now told him, go and bring this animal, bring this bird, bring this bird, and he cut them into two, there was blood. It was after that time he now said, I have given you. So that signifies that with this, is sealed.
Yeah.
You don't write it. It's not something you write and sign and stamp. So covenants are different. Covenant is different from partnership.
Yeah.
Another thing is, during those days, do you know what do you know when it becomes a marriage? When they get married, they'll take the wife into the room, put a white bedsheet on the bed. When you have sex, maybe after 7 days, when you have sex with her, and there's a blood stain, you now open the door, open the window, and show the community. And they start screaming. They start, oh, now we're married. That's the consummation. That's what consummates it. The sex consummates it. Okay. And the truth is that partnership is more of togetherness. Oneness, you can achieve togetherness with anyone. So that's partnership.
Yes.
But you cannot achieve oneness with anyone. Oneness, you achieve it with your spouse.
Okay. You just you just sent me on a on a trip, on a mental trip, because I've been looking at it. So much has changed.
Yeah.
Both in our understanding of what the marriage institution is and what is being practiced. We have more of partnerships now, especially outside. We're still managing it in our environment here, and it leads one to ask, are people getting into marriage due to societal and
for the wrong reasons,
maybe cultural reasons? And why would they do that?
I totally love the questions you're asking me today. To be honest, it's a choice. Don't forget that this particular relative is the one God said we should choose. We don't choose our parents. I'm not aware. I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose my siblings. If Joseph had a choice, he wouldn't choose his brothers. So forget that it took him to where God wanted him to be. But if we had the choice to choose, some of us would say, please, I want Dangote to be my father. I want this person to be my father. But we didn't have those choices. But this particular person, God said, choose. So it's a choice. It's something that I know that these days, we tend to go with the opinions of the secular world. So culture, tradition, society, what they think, what do not think. But the truth is, I know we all go into marriage for different reasons. People go in for fame, for status, for money. People go in for sex, for validation. People go in because they're heartbroken. They feel when they get into it, they'll be healed. So there are different reasons why people go into marriage. But like I said earlier, you must understand the intention of God for marriage. You must understand what marriage is before you even get into it. Okay. Because what happens is, if you go into marriage for the wrong reasons, you have most likely married the wrong person. And once you marry the wrong person, you can't now go in and say, this marriage, what kind of marriage is this? No, because you saw these things. And I'll give you an example. I have a couple who, I was counseling. And the man said, God revealed to me that she's my wife. Okay. So I asked her the question. I said, did you get the same revelation from God? She said, no. I said, did you get confirmation from anyone, your pastor, whoever? And she said, no. I said, okay, what made you now accept him to be your husband? And she said, the parents were putting her under pressure to get married. So when he came along, they said, please go ahead and marry him too, so that we can shame our enemies. So that's a reason. Shaming enemies is the reason for
the marriage.
instituting marriage. So what do you think will happen? As I speak to you, they're divorced. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So I've had another one where the lady, yes, we're dating, you've engaged me. And the next thing, she's asking questions around how do we share the property when we're, just in case we have a divorce. I mean, if you have that kind of mentality going into a
You
marriage,
already set the goal.
you already set the goal. You're going to, and as I speak to you, the marriage is over.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So I think people need to have a mindset shift. You know, you need to come out, first of all, who created marriage? What was his intention for creating that marriage? If you don't even understand that marriage is a covenant, you will keep going into it as a partnership agreement. And once you get into it as a partnership agreement, there are terms and conditions of a partnership agreement. So what happens is you go in, please, you don't know me. Don't try me. Do you know where I'm coming from? Do you know my father? Do you know my mother? You know, I have more money than you. I'll just go somewhere. And so if you have that kind of attitude and go into marriage, you're already setting yourself up for a separation or divorce. And I'm not saying that, you know, choosing right. Like for me, choosing right basically is, you know, for me, my module is around start right, choose right, and marry right. So starting right is about yourself. You have to be who you want to attract. So if you're looking for someone that has all the qualities, he has to be this, he has to be that, then you too, you need to be the same thing you want to attract. So starting right, put yourself together, be happy with yourself. Don't depend on somebody else to get happiness. You know, just things like it's about yourself. Then choosing right is different. That's when you now start saying, okay, what kind of a man should I choose? Once you get the foundation right, the marriage, you're going to have a healthy marriage. And healthy marriage doesn't mean a perfect marriage. I've never said perfect because there's no perfect marriage. Yeah. The thing is, you have to invest in it. Time, resources. What do I mean by resources? There are behaviors that foster oneness in marriage. So things like empathy, patience, forgiveness, love, kindness, gentleness, self-control, faithfulness. You need to invest
all of
these things.
That?
Oh, there are a lot more. There are a lot more.
How does one tick them off?
So that's the thing, the experiences you have. So what happens now is people are no more patient. They don't want to tolerate anymore.
Yes.
So because when I have an argument with my husband, for example, when we disagree and we agree, now I know, okay, these are things he doesn't like. How do I now improve on them? Even on our anniversary day when we spoke about it, I said, is there anything you want me to improve on? Are there things that, you know, I was doing before that you liked, I'm not doing now? So couples need to come together and talk. I have this conversation because one person's heart cannot carry relationship. Okay. Do you understand? You know, it's two people that make a couple. One person is not a couple, basically.
Wow. And after 10 years of being married, you're still asking your husband, are there things that you'd like for me to work on?
Oh, yes.
Excellent.
Marriage is an institution where learning never ends. So what happens is you learn, you unlearn, and relearn. You keep learning for the rest of your life.
I like that.
Wow. All right. So why then do we see a lot more people opting for the partnership option? We see more of that than, you know, formalizing it or the covenant kind of marriage.
Okay, like I said earlier, it's a choice. So what happens now is, I think a lot of people just feel, I don't want to be held, I don't want to be accountable to anyone. I just want to be free, I want to live my life.
If it works for me, fine.
If it works for me, fine. If it doesn't work for me, fine. So we've had situations where, I'll give you a practical example. I had someone who, a man asked her to get pregnant for him. He's a married man. Oh, yes. He's actually married. Get pregnant for him that, you know, he's going to, apparently maybe he doesn't have a son, so he wanted a son. And I asked, so how do you know you're going to have a son? Yes. You know, for example. And the man already promised her 50 million. I'm going to give you 50 million. So
that is
when
contract.
you have, thank you. So that's like a partnership agreement. So when you have those kinds of relationships, what do you expect? You don't get the, you know, because marriage has a lot of, like, you know, I think it was Matthew 19 that said, maturity. If you're not mature, you can't be married. And it said clearly that marriage is not for everyone. So people choose not to get married. I've had a couple who, they were dating for 2 years. They had been dating for 2 years. And the girl, you know, he was always saying things like, or, you know, our children, I can't wait to see how our children will look. So the girl felt, oh, okay, the intention is to be married someday, to have children. And the next thing, she just called one day. She wasn't pregnant. She lied. She just said, I'm pregnant. And the next thing he said, oh, no problem. You know, we'll have a child together. I'll get you an apartment. And she was like, you'll get me an apartment? How? From where? Oh. You know, like, he now said, oh, yes, we'll have children. I want us to be together. But I never said I was going to marry you, period.
So the terms were clear.
So when you're even courting, when you're dating someone, you have to ask the right questions.
Yes.
You have to be sure that this person wants to be married. You have to be sure that this person wants to have children. I have a recent case now where the lady and the guy agreed before they even got married that they won't have children. And the next thing, 3 years down the line, the girl is pregnant. And the man said, okay, we agreed not to have children, you know, and we can't have children. He said, you have to abort it. And she said, I can't abort it. I already have it. He has filed for divorce. Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are happening now.
A lot of things are happening.
Oh, yes.
And you know, that takes
Wow.
us to the next question. You see, I've noticed that there's, in recent times, or maybe I was too young to notice, but in recent times, there's been some kind of selfishness, compartmentalization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, of resources. This is mine.
Mine. This is yours.
This is yours. You know, why?
Why?
Why do we have that?
Okay. So let me just, you know, briefly explain
If the
that.
two are supposed to have come to become one.
Thank you.
One.
So that's the point. So see here, people don't even understand that what marriage is. So I think we've come to a place where that's why a lot of us are teaching about the foundation. How did it come about? What was God's intention for marriage? So I'm someone who is concentrating on the foundation, okay? So what happens is, in this kind of environment is, this is mine, this is yours. It usually favors the person that has the more, for example. So if I'm the wealthier one, it will favor me because this is mine and this is yours. John, meanwhile, marriage is supposed to be, even if I'm poor and I marry a rich man, I'm automatically rich because now we're joined as one.
Yeah.
So I tell people, once you say I do, so that's the point. People do not realize what we're saying at that altar, the vow we're making. Once you say I do, that person, there is no more Dolly Wakuchi. There is now Dolly Ohanyere. That's why I answer my husband's name. So my name is Dolly Ohanyere. It doesn't mean you've lost your identity. You no longer have, you know, your own principles or perspectives. No, it just simply means that you die to self. You're now joined to somebody else. All right? So what happens now is I no longer exist. It's now we. And the issue we have in this compartmentalization thing is majorly in finances.
Yes.
Yes, it's majorly in finances.
Well,
and
it's more obvious.
yes, it's more obvious there. Yes. And why that
finances.
happens is because, let me give you a practical example. In situations where you're a woman and you've been open, you've been transparent, you don't hide anything from your husband. And the next thing, you go into your husband's room one day and you're searching through things and find a document that has a name without yours for a property, for example. So what happens now is you will start holding back. You will start hiding as well. So what's your intention for me at that point? So that's why most people
It's
now...
actually a breach.
Oh, yes, it's
trust.
a breach.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of trust. So with that, most women now tend to go and start looking for ways to protect themselves, to, you know, for security, and they go ahead and start buying their own properties in their name or their children's name. So these things cause a lot of, you know, trust issues. Yes, and once there's a division, you can never achieve that unity. So that's why any house that is divided, nothing comes out of it. So if you get to that place where you know that it's no longer Dolly and Peter. It's now Dolly P. In fact, they call me Dolly P. It's now Dolly P or Doll Pete. You know, you are now one. You're a unit. You're a team. So there's no longer, my husband's car is my car. I'm not a caretaker in his house. It's my house. So what you see, some people say, my husband's car, my wife's this. No, it's ours. You know, it's, you know, so I think, you know, people are becoming selfish in terms of let me not even say selfish. They don't even understand this oneness thing. That's the problem.
Oneness.
Yes, they don't understand it because it said become one. It didn't say you are one. So there is a becoming. You have to work towards. So it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. The becoming.
But what dulls our memory? Because when you start out, when you set out, and you say, I do, most times you really do.
Oh, yes.
And then somehow along the line, something dulls your memory and you just fall.
And in addition to that, very quickly, before we take our first break with you, earlier on you talked about one of the reasons our parents, hung in longer than, we are. And you also mentioned choice. At that point in time, so many marriages wasn't about choice.
Thank you.
So what happened?
What kept them, right? That's a good question. So back then, they can actually just bring someone from a family and say, this is your wife. In fact, someone told me a story recently. The mom was 13 years when she started living with the husband's people. And they got married at 18. So she didn't know any other person except this man. So let me tell you what was happening then. It's not like they didn't experience what we're experiencing now, no. What was happening, and this would depend on person to person and culture and tradition as well. So family values, they had core family values. So let me give you instances. They were afraid of stigmatization. Then, when you're married, it's a thing of pride. It's a thing of, what would you want them to see? I'll give you an example. A lady, one of the ladies I interviewed last year, she's been married now for 45 years with her husband. She said they were living in the north and she was tired, like the marriage wasn't working. She packed her things and came back to her home in the east. And the mom said, what are you doing here? She said, oh, I'm tired. She said,
you don't have a place here
Who
anymore.
in this family is divorced? I said, there's no room for you. Go back to your husband's house. Whatever he's not doing, you do it. That's how the next day. She said she cried.
Is not an option.
Oh no, it's not that. But for them, it was more of, let's protect the family. That family values, the image. So, and they didn't want any stigma. Do you know this lady went back? Now she's married to the same man for 45 years. Another thing is, then it was more financial dependence. A lot of the women depended on their husbands for finances, including sanitary pads. It was that bad. But right now, what do we have? We're all working. We're all independent. We're independent.
Okay.
So that's the point.
Okay,
so,
we're all working.
Yes.
We'll hold our thoughts there because we're going to go on a break very soon.
Okay.
Because, with all we see and hear from both men and women, we're compelled to ask, is marriage really necessary? So we'll take a break now.
Great conversation. You will agree with me if you've been with us from the beginning. And if you just joined the conversation, yes, you have missed quite a bit. But don't worry, there is much more coming from our first guest who is still here with us, Dolly Ohanyere. And of course, when Pharaoh or Wotomo takes on her guest. So, madam, we continue with the conversation. I was intrigued with the question John asked before the break, on at the point where people decide or agree to get married, everyone is happy. Everyone is expectant. Everyone is expecting, a blissful union for till death do us part. What then happens?
Okay. So first of all, besides the foundation, which I've addressed, there is high expectation. And unmet expectation is one of the major causes of separation and divorce in marriages. And I'll give you a practical example. This lady grew up in a home where the dad did practically everything, paid the school fees, provided for them. The mom was working, but the dad was doing practically everything. She meets a guy who comes from a home where there was shared responsibility. They don't know this thing. So this is family background now at work. So I'm using that one as an example. You get into marriage, and the next thing, the man is expecting that, this is, you have to bring something, let me bring something, And the lady's like, for what? Okay. My dad did all those things. Why are you asking me that? And do you know that this thing literally broke the relationship? So high expectations is one of the major causes of divorce in marriage. So you're so excited, you get into it, unless you're wondering what went wrong. What went wrong?
Yes.
And it's not for me as well, when you're dating or courting someone, how long is not how long, is how well. Do you even know this person?
Yeah.
I've had people who have dated for 10 years and they got married and they were divorced in 2 years.
Yes.
What happened? So you were expecting a certain behavior or certain attitude from this person. And when you don't see that, you're like, what's going on here? This is not what I planned for. This is not what I expected marriage to be.
Yes.
So in a situation like that, can age and maturity help? Does it? I mean,
Well, I don't know about age, no.
okay.
But maturity, yes. Like I said, even the Bible tells me that you must be, for you to even make it through marriage, you must be mature. It's in Matthew 19. You must be a mature person.
What
to
is
even,
your-
And maturity, thank you.
Okay.
So maturity for me comes through experience, exposure, knowledge and understanding of marriage. That's how maturity comes. So it has nothing to do with age. I've seen people who got married, my friends, like some of them got married at the age of 16, that's still married till today. Some people got married at the age of 20. Our parents, when did they get married? 16, 18. But they're
20.
still married till today. So it has nothing to do with age. For me, it's more of maturity than age.
Great.
Yes.
Maturity, wisdom, patience,
Oh, yes.
and all of those things.
Oh, yes.
Faithfulness.
Faithfulness, self-control.
Self-control.
Yes.
Oneness.
Humility.
At the
Yes.
end of the day.
Yes.
That's quite interesting. Dolly, I don't know what we're going to do, but
She's here. She's here. Just ask her. She'll give
I
us
think we have to roll back.
Okay.
Roll back, to the whole foundation of the marriage institution. Now, could you just map out 5 good reasons? Five steps to a good marriage.
Oh, okay. The truth is, foundation matters. I've said that already. You need to understand what marriage is and the intention of God for marriage. I'll also say shared values.
Okay.
You must be able to be with someone who your values align. If not, you have a lot of issues in marriage. Another one is shared interests. That's where companionship comes in, friendship. Because if, for example, my husband loves football, for example, and I don't like football, it's my responsibility as his wife to get interested in what interests him. So I ask him questions. Oh, man, I'm now a Man U fan, by the way, because he's a Man U fan. So,
But it would be difficult for me to watch Kim Kardashian.
oh no, that's not what. But at least you even know what she likes. You know what she's interested in. So even if you come in and say you and this Kim Kardashian thing, you're having a conversation. So it gives room for you people to come together and bond and have that intimacy and connection. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
And another thing as well is compatibility. See, it's a major issue. And compatibility is not just about you and the person. No. I think I met with a group of single ladies last week, and the lady there was said that the mistake she made, she didn't know compatibility was, for me, compatibility is on all, like, multiple levels. For example, family, values, spirituality. There are lots of things you must be compatible with. And I'll give you a practical example. The lady said, she didn't know, and right now as I speak, the marriage is over, she's divorced. And she said she went into it thinking it was just about 2 of them. And by the time she got into it, she now saw that her values did not align with the husband's family values. And the husband didn't fight for her so much, and she had to walk away. So the marriage is over. So those things are key.
You have to have each other's back.
Yes, you must have each other's back. So go into marriage and say, this person is going to be my team member. We're in the same team. What happens when you're in a team? If all these footballers don't work as a team, are they going to win? They can't win. So it's teamwork. You have to come together and agree that. Listen, and that's why marriage is a lot of negotiations. We even negotiate. If you want to cross the road now, you negotiate with yourself. Should I cross? Should I not cross? You look left, you look left. That's negotiation. You always come to a place where you negotiate with your partner. What do we do now? How do we go about it? And things like that. And for me, a lot of people run away from it because they think, why would I compromise on this? Why would I compromise on this? So I say, okay, you know what? Instead of using the word compromise, use the word consensus. Because consensus is basically meeting each other halfway.
Some people are not wired for consensus.
Oh,
some
why?
people want to be on their own. They want to be, do things
the way they want to do it.
Forget about saying we are one or whatever. I want to be myself. I want to be my own self.
This is how I am.
This is who I am. We hear that all the time. We hear that all the time. This is who I am. But the truth is, if you know this is who you are, then remain on your own. Why get into marriage?
In the first place.
In the first place. Yes. If you know there's no room for you to change, there's no room for you to, be a better person, there's no room for you to grow.
Yeah, but
then what's
at
the
that
point?
time, it is love that is...
Are you sure it was
love? So that's another... See, that's another... In fact, you might need to invite me for that one.
Yes.
You see love, eh? We have misused and abused that word so much.
Wow.
So love, when people say you fall in love, that means you can fall out of love. So what I prefer to use is you grow in love. So it's not about falling in love. No. Because if you fall into it, you're going to fall out of it.
Wow. Okay. So when I look back and I think about where we are at, unfortunately, there are a lot of good marriages out there, but they are not publicized as much as a bad one. So we now think that it's not a bed of roses and it's not a good thing. And we could opt out if we don't feel good about it anymore. Is there any link, with this kind of thinking, to the Western world, if I can use that word? Are we following, is there a trend out there that looks so attractive that we're now beginning to toy in, even probably without knowing about it?
Okay, first of all, marriage is a good thing because it's a gift from God. Don't forget the Bible says when a man finds a wife, he has found a good thing and obtains favor from God. That means marriage is supposed to make you better.
So it is the man that finds. It is not the woman that finds.
No.
Helen, come on, Helen.
That's what... Okay, now.
Okay, we're going to have a conversation outside this. So the truth is, marriage is supposed to make you a better person. Marriage is supposed to open doors of opportunities for you. Marriage is supposed to make you grow. Marriage is supposed to make you achieve purpose. So when you're in a marriage and you're already thinking that, it's not a good thing, then that's the fundamental problem already. And that's what you get. I love the
picture you're painting of marriage. Now, we're coming to the end of the program. Okay. And I will leave you with this one question in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Are marriages made in heaven?
Oh, no, there's no marriage made in heaven. Let me explain before the time. So there's no marriage is intentional. You have to make a conscious effort to make it work. So it takes a lot of hard work, diligence.
So you make it?
Oh, yes. You make it. What you invest is what you harvest. You make it. What you want it to be is what you harvest. Yes. So what you're giving in, that's what you're going to get out. And I'll use a practical example. I call it the garden analogy. If you sow a seed, all right, you put in ingredients, nutrients that will grow that seed. So, the sunlight, the rain, that certain things that will grow that seed. It's the same thing with marriage. If you are married, there are certain things that you invest into it that will grow the marriage.
Dolly, you just set the table for another program. We're going to have to end this here.
Exactly.
And of course, we cannot end it without saying a huge thank you to you. Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you. We will have you again.
And maybe this time we'll come meet you in Accra.
Please do.
Oh, Lord, I can't wait for that. Thought-provoking conversation there, uncovering a lot of gray areas in relationship and marriage.
So, as we continue on the show, let's make way for the official Keep Fit coach, whose job it is to help us stay fit and healthy through regular exercises. And after that, Ferron takes the hot seat with her guests. It's your show. It's dedicated to the family. It's Today with John and Helen. Let's get to the gym and shake it off. Right?
I like that.
Take a break now.
All right. See you again.